a minister
Mm-hmm.
who was Orville's uncle, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were married, he wanted his uncle to be the minister, which was fine with me. But the uncle charged us, and I didn't think he should.
he sent a bill in the mail, huh?
Yeah. And then he had May, that was another sister.
Mm-hmm.
Fanny had May as a sister. And Goldie. Goldie outlived them all.
Hmm.
She's the one that lived in Eureka.
Right.
Yeah. And Goldie has a daughter, Irene,
Mm-hmm.
who still lives in Eureka.
Hmm.
I sent her the notice about Good at one time,
Mm-hmm.
because she's the only, well, outside of Jim over in Montana,
Mm-hmm.
Irene's the only other good from,
She was born Irene Good, but now what's her last name?
Well, I should know.
Hmm. But she was one of Ira's daughters too,
She was Goldie's daughter.
Oh, Goldie's daughter.
Yeah,
Or sorry.
Harris.
Oh, that's right. So Goldie would have been so Irene wouldn't have been
No,
a good. She would have
Ira
been.
was Goldie's brother-in-law.
Right.
Her name is Harris,
Mm.
and she lives in Eureka, where Goldie lived.
Mm.
And then there was, let me see, there was May. There were four of them, that's all of them. Ada and May and Fanny and Goldie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a younger brother, Leo,
Mm-hmm.
who never married.
Hmm.
He lived by himself over in eastern Washington.
Hmm.
Just had sheep or something. He had a farm.
Hmm.
Lived by himself.
Hmm. And so all of those people were Grandpa's aunts and uncles. And then he had one brother named Norman.
Norman. And Norman's son is Jimmy, that still lives in Montana. Jimmy lives in Bozeman,
Right.
and he has two boys,
Yeah.
Jonathan and Jeremy.
Right.
Jeremy is going to college in Colorado.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good.
He's the one that used to go on fishing trips.
Yeah, he's
In
been to our house
Alaska?
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
Mhm.
with Claire.
And Norman was married to Ruth. And when Ruth passed away, Norman remarried another lady from up here at Brennan. You know where Brennan is?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's on the canal,
Hmm.
other side of the canal. And he didn't take good care of himself. He drank a little too much, and
Yeah, Grandpa told me that. Yeah, didn't he marry? He married 2 times, right?
yeah.
So who is Grandpa's mom? His dad was Ira.
Yeah, his mother was Fanny.
Or, I'm sorry, Fanny. That's right.
Fanny Maud.
Fanny Maud, huh?
So when we had our first child,
Mm-hmm.
we have names to choose from, like Elmer and Hilda and Ira and Fanny. So we had to go out of the family names and pick something different.
Uh-huh.
And for a long time, my grandmother, the one I was so fond of, her name was Mary, and her maiden name was Reed. Mary Reed, and I liked that Reed name. So I decided when I got married and had my first son, I would name him Reed because I was very fond of my grandmother and I liked the name Reed. So guess what? You don't name a boy Reed good.
Nah.
So I had to give that up. So we didn't have any very good names to pick from.
So what did your dad, what did he do? Well, he was with the post office, wasn't he?
For years.
Did he have a walking route or something?
In these early years, he was what they call a shingle weaver, something to do with the mill.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple years after I was born, he got into the post office. And he worked there for 52 years. He started out being a mail carrier for downtown Olympia. Made many, many friends. And then he got inside of the post office and he was in what they call the finance room, where you sell bonds or you sell money orders, whatever they do in the finance room. He was there for another several years. And then he retired in 1952. And then they lived in their house until, well, I mentioned, I think it was 69, they moved out to Panorama City.
But your mom never worked?
Yeah.
Oh, did she work?
Well, they must have moved out there in 68 then.
No, I mean, did she ever have a job, your mom, when you were growing up? The women, it wasn't very common, was it?
No, people stayed home and took care of the kids.
Right. Yeah, nowadays in our neighborhood, it seems like all the houses are empty during the day.
One of Wally's favorite expressions is, my mom never had to work a day in her life.
Yeah.
He tells that to everybody. He doesn't know raising 3 children is work. Ask Ann, she knows about that. But wives didn't work then. You know, you washed and ironed and cooked and took care of the kids, and very, very, very few women had daily jobs. So you just did your own thing.
And then how did you meet Grandpa?
Well, that's an interesting story. Of course, we were both in high school together, but we never paid much attention to each other then.
What high school was that?
We graduated in the same class.
Was it Olympia High School?
1929.
Is that the same one that's the Olympia Bears?
Mm-hmm.
Were they the Bears back then?
They were the Bears then, too.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went off to college, and he went to JCPenney to work. And when I came home from college 3 years later, he was going with my best friend. And she lived right up the street from me on Frederick Street. But she was working in Tacoma. So on the weekend when she was home, she said, I'm going with Orville Good now, and when you're in Penny's, go in and say hello to him because I have to be in Tacoma all week working. So go in and visit with him and get to know him, which I did. I think she shouldn't have told me that.
We're glad you did.
And he was driving at the time a fantastic car. It was a lemon yellow. In those days, they called him a roadster. Had a rumble seat. It was an absolutely handsome car. I used to see it parked up the street because he was calling on Dorothy. But pretty soon it kept coming to our house. Same car, same street, different house.